Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Power of Knowing Forums. Join the CSU Talks LinkedIn Live event 165. Today we are discussing on the topic of speak the language of influence, mastering NLP for today's leaders. To have this topic discussed, we have the honor of Dharshani Sivakumar, founder of DS Image Consulting, an NLP practitioner, emotional intelligence practitioner, life coach, and a motivational speaker. Without further ado, let's welcome our esteemed speaker to our podcast event. Hi, Darshini. Welcome to our podcast and happy Diwali to you and the audience.
Hi, sir. Good evening. And thank you for this opportunity. And it's my privilege of being here with you today on this podcast. And happy Diwali to everyone once again.
Thank you on that, Darshini. Let's start on when you say mastering the language of influence. Can you tell us a pivotal moment when mastering the language of influence changed the outcome of a project or a conversation? And what strategies did you use to communicate your vision effectively?
Okay, there are a couple of factors here. It can be a training session or it can be any session which we as a speaker or we attend an event. It's important to know who are the top audience we are addressing to. It can be an organization or it can be a public event as such, but understanding your audience plays a pivotal role in influencing or giving that kind of impactful session. That is the main factor which we have to take into consideration. Understanding what kind of background of are the audience from. Is it from a particular organization, or you're just gonna give a generalized session or a talk on particular topic? And how does it influence and how can you communicate effectively? That comes into, if you have a clear understanding of what are you going to deliver and what is the learning outcomes you're looking for. If these things are clear, you can in any manner you can go effectively and deliver the session. The moment you are not clear, if you have any doubts, without clarifying and going and taking that particular talk or that particular session or that particular stage for that matter, it is going to affect the way you impact or influence the audience in front of you. And the key again is to be clear with whatever you're going to do on the stage. When we are unclear, when we ourselves has that mind block, okay, I hope audience will understand, or I hope this the people who are sitting in front of us understand. If we go in that misconception, that's or having that preconceived notion that they'll understand whatever we say, then I think that is the biggest blunder which we can make on the stage.
You're talking about more on how to put an action to an influence, right? So that's how we are talking about. Now, how do you build uh, the NLP, or what role does NLP play and NLP and influence play in cultivating authentic empathy in leaders, and why critically for the connection with the teams in different levels?
Okay, so what happens when you start using NLP and influencing the leaders or whoever your audience is? First, we need to understand there are three different kind of learners where we see in an audience. One is your auditory learning,
Hmm.
second is your visual learning, and third is your kinesthetic learning. If you just use auditory learning, the other kind of learners will not engage with you. So it's important to mix all different kinds of learning styles when you're going to deliver a session. NLP is nothing but, it's called neuro linguistic programming, which means you need to mix all these three different styles of learning or all these three different styles of communicating something to your audience to influence them. Comes with that comes to understanding and knowing that you're going to deliver to all these three different kinds of learners, not just one. Yes, your voice or your auditory plays a vital role, and we need to understand as to when you have to give that pause, when you have to go on high pitch, when you have to come down, or when you have to stay neutral. That comes with lot of practice again, which I mentioned in the first point. And with the other question which I start the first question which I started the answering with, it comes with practice.
Now, you spoke about kinesthetic styles.
Yes.
Can you help us in understanding kinesthetic in three? What is kinesthetic and what are the elements kinesthetic
Okay. Say
has
for
in an NLP practice?
example,
Yeah.
say for example, you're going to deliver a training session on leadership.
Okay.
Okay, that individual might tell you what is leadership according to him or her. If you have to explain something, explain a concept to that individual who's a kinesthetic learner, you will have to give him or her a activity where they either use pen and paper or they use some material, tangible materials to learn the concept. That is what I mean when I say kinesthetic learner. Or another example, playing games with them, something relating to the topic. When you start playing games with them, or it can be a group discussion, something which they get the experience, feel and touch of the activity which they are doing. As an example, say you have a team of individuals who's grouped along, and if you give them a activity, say come up with a leadership flyer, or a we have a leadership program, create a flyer, so the kinesthetic learner learns faster. Even for that matter, the visual learners also learn faster. But for an auditory person, you might have to ask him or her to speak. They might be having a good voice, so they prefer to speak. But how do you find this? An auditory learner will talk faster. If you have noticed, the auditory learners will talk faster. S- On the other hand, your visual learners will talk more elaborate. Simple way to identify is this is ask them to tell about an last vacation which they have gone to. They'll start detailing explaining the about the place, about the what all they saw on the road. They might be telling you all these things. Auditory on the other side will talk about the sounds what they heard, or that place was noisy. For an auditory, they might be liking that. For a visual, it must be more visually appealing to them, like a scenic place, something like that. For a kinesthetic individual, for him or her, the comfort, the stay, all these things will start mattering to them. The comfort, the feel. Say, for example, you're going to buy a car. If it's a kinesthetic individual, they'll start looking for comfort. Is the seat comfortable? All these things they start looking for. So all these things plays a role in influencing a person. In a training session, I'll tell you, if you're taking a training session on leadership, first, we, as a trainer or as a speaker, we need to understand what is the outcome, or is the organization have given you any outcome. Okay, this is what we want to achieve. If the initial analysis, if it is done on the right manner, you can in you can bring in that impact. But I'm not saying you can completely change their mindset, but you can spark that ignite of change in their minds. If that 1% or if that 5% have got influence with the way you talk, that is itself is the best thing.
Okay. Great points there. I think the audience will catch up saying that what exactly is kinesthetic learning, I think, in terms of your view or what exactly it is. Now, coming to this one, in your experience, what is one small change in communication style that has significantly impacted the team dynamics. Okay, when you are in a team, any specific examples that you can give when you approached the team transformed their performance? Anything on that?
The first time when I went to take a training, which was offline.
Mm-hmm.
So there, what happened is the first time when I encountered the situation where, see, any speaker, any individual will always have that 0.1% of fear or nervousness to start something.
Yeah.
And even you might have had, I might have also have had every time, even if it's your 100 or if it's your 150 session, every time you'll have that kind of nervousness. The
Agree.
first thing what I did was instead of ignoring it, I started accepting it. The moment you start accepting, you gain that confidence to do something in a much more better way. Because the moment that initial start is not given in that full confidence, the whole of your sessions impact. So what I started doing, more than the body of the content, I started focusing on the introduction part, the way you introduce yourself or the way you start a session. The more I started focusing on that, eventually the opportunities which I got, the later opportunities whatever came in my way, were far better than what I got in the first place. The simple suggestion or a simple hack is practice your introduction, practice the hook part of it, the everything else will go and flow.
Hmm.
But
Okay.
the ripple effect has to be put in the right manner.
Okay. Got it. Can you tell some of the mistake these leaders make trying to influence others, especially when they are using NLP techniques? So when I learn NLP techniques, I always try to do something which is overboard, right? And we start doing something. How can these be avoided to build a genuine rapport or trust?
Okay, here also I'm just gonna break down the as pointers.
Mhm.
One is when it is natural for mistakes to happen, but to avoid that, it is always better to have a session on self awareness. Okay, this is where I stand. Okay, where do I stand? Do you know in which are aspects where you stand and where do you want to go? It
Hmm.
is like similarly, it is like using your Google Maps on a daily basis. If we don't know the destination where we want to go, we might not reach a destination, we'll be still roaming in our own city. So if we have a destination right, or if we know clearly, okay, this is where I'm going, this is what I'm going to do.
Hmm.
If the self awareness circle is clear, then it's always good to take a time out in understanding your client or your organization, or if it's an individual, take time, lot of time in understanding who needs what,
Hmm.
but asking the right questions. What works for me may not work for another person. So taking that time out in understanding will avoid lot of these mishaps or small mistakes which happen. See, mistakes are bound to happen, but to reduce the intensity of the consequences after that can be reduced through understanding the individual first or the organization first, whoever we are approaching or whoever is approaching us. Very simple example I'll give you. All of us go out to have dinner or we like to go out for outing.
Hmm.
If a service or if the leadership team in that organization or in that hotel, wherever we go, is not good, do we even go back to that same place? No. If the service is good, you will go back. So
Hmm.
if the leadership in an organization, if the leadership has to be strong, the person who's heading, the individual who's heading the team has to be clear. Okay, they should know the pros and cons or the weakness and the strengths of their team members, not in detail, at least basic understanding should be there. so that these things can be reduced to a certain extent. I'm not saying you will gain perfection, but you can be better in at every step. Instead of focusing on the full staircase, just focus
Mm.
on the next step. Okay, if you have done better than this yesterday, well and good, you just go in that flow. It's
Okay.
this is this these points what I'm sharing is out of personal experiences which I've had.
Okay. Great. Uh, with the multi-generational workforce, because now you see people with varied experiences coming in.
Yes,
How
definitely,
can
definitely.
leaders adopt or influence styles to resonate across the age group? One is that. Second, what is the unique NLP insight to consider for Gen Zs, millenniums, and beyond?
Good question. This one question can be a session for another day, but I'm gonna make it crisp and short here.
Okay.
Okay. First thing to adapt or to get used to something is comes with observation.
Hmm.
For these days, Gen Zs or whichever age group or whoever it is we call in different names. First is observing wherever you are, because if we ourselves give that breathing space and that time, you will understand, okay, this is the kind of people whom I'm around with, and this is the way we are supposed to communicate with each of them.
Hmm.
If you start observing, if you start listening to the people's conversation in and around you, you will understand this.
Okay.
I'll give you a very simple example. When you have to go talk to a kid who's 5 or 10, between 5 to 10 years old, you'll not go talk in an adult language, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you'll go talk like a child.
Hmm.
Similarly, we need to have that presence of mind of how we are supposed to communicate with whoever is there along with us in that particular situation. We need to understand. That understanding is important. Where does that understanding come from? It comes from observing, and we need to be that good listeners before we become a speaker.
Okay. Okay. That's a
See,
good
these
insight.
days, another killer is your comfort zone. Not many of them are not even interested to come out of their comfort zone. Today, in many training sessions, when I go ask people to come and introduce, they'll be like, introduction? No, this is not for me. This is how these days,
And I think
individuals are.
the introduction also is very short. My name is this, and
Ah,
I have 20 years of experience. I've been in this organization for 3 years,
yes,
5 years, and
yes.
thank you. That's all. Over.
This is what this is what
Okay.
happens. They don't know what to add, how to start a conversation. No, nothing. They're
Mhm.
still clueless these days. So it's like
Going there and see, now you go and argue with them also or talk to them also, it becomes a tough conversation.
true.
How can NLP help leaders handle tough conversations with empathy and a sure assertiveness? Can you share a real time example where you have tried this approach and received a challenging situation?
Okay. Here also, initially to handle difficult conversation is first listen to the other person, whatever he or she wants to say.
Even when he's trying to yell it out or he's being very
It's,
harsh and
it,
stuff, just listen, is it?
it, okay, just listen and
Okay.
then just tell them.
Okay.
Either if you feel that that conversation is going on a more heated front, tell him or her, whoever the individual is, say we'll go out, have a conversation out, not here.
Okay.
Okay, first you can make it depends on the situation and where you are,
Hmm.
and then okay, I heard what you said. First agree to them whatever they have told,
Hmm.
and then slowly go ahead and put your point. The moment if they get that feeling of, okay, this person has not heard me, this person is not going to agree with me, if you start your conversation with like that,
Hmm.
they're gonna get more angry with you, or offer them a glass of water at the first place, so that your prefrontal cortex start processing. See,
Hmm.
some we are prone to reacting instead of responding.
Okay. Good insight.
Sometimes there had been times where that same client has called me back for trainings, which has
Hmm.
happened. So your the way you put and your confidence and your assertiveness speaks a lot. See, this is yet another skill to be learnt. Or you can, what you can do is, if you feel that heated conversation is keeping on running, tell them, let's break this conversation here for now, and maybe we'll connect in a day or two, or on a different occasion we'll connect. Give them some breathing space or time for them to go think back and come back. And definitely they'll come back with a sorry to you, or at least an apology they'll come back with, which I have experienced with many of them.
I think you are telling us to buy time, hear them out, buy time, and tell them saying that we'll pause this conversation for now here
If you
and
feel that is not going in
going
that
in the
first,
right direction.
uh,
Okay. Okay. Okay.
see, otherwise we are spoiling both of our relationship there.
Okay. Okay.
So it's better to sometimes see what I'll give you a very different example here to make this in a much more clearer manner. Say morning, you've got a plate,
Hmm.
hmm? And you have got a plate, you've not prepared anything, nothing is there, you've not done anything for the day. You start your day on this note. To some, for some reason, your cab has also not arrived.
Oh, okay.
The Uber cab has not arrived.
Okay.
If you have, if not any of, if any individual have that presence of mind, he or she will call up the HR and say, see,
Hmm.
this is what the situation is, I may be 10 or 15 minutes, there might be a delay.
Hmm.
If we had informed this in prior, these emotions starts piling up. If you've not done this, informing a particular person or a particular department in your organization, emotions pile up, and one fine situation they come and burst. That might be the situation which you have been which we have been discussing here also,
Hmm.
where emotions pile up and one situation they burst. It's like pressure cooker basically. Many times we do this, we think, okay, we put all the things under the carpet and
Yeah.
think things will be fine, but we don't take that time out to sit and sort it out.
Yeah.
Many of us do this. But if
Agree.
you go back, take a break, and come back again and sit and have that cordial discussion more than having a heated conversation, this comes with practice.
I think I'll take an example here.
Sure, sir.
Bhavani.
Go ahead.
Uh, when I started my career as a system admin, and there was always an issue. If something is not working, I used to isolate myself and start working on it. Okay, and I continuously probed and see doing that. There was one guy, my office boy, used to sit next to the room that I used to work, and it was a glass room. So he'll
Okay.
sit and he'll say, when I'm doing something, I normally used to close the door and start working. So this
Okay.
guy will see if I'm doing, if I've closed my door, he'll come and see. He'll look at
Okay.
it and he'll say, sir, tea. He'll say tea, then I'll turn, he'll go get a tea, and we go out to have the tea and come back. Most of the times, my problem is solved.
Exactly.
Most of the times that I've seen is when I took that breaks that are required for me to solve something, that break has helped me to think differently and solve the problem. Are you
Exactly.
referring to that kind of a thing?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful.
Very simple example. I'll just show you right away. You see this paper here?
Yeah,
Yeah? Fresh and clean.
yeah,
I've squeezed this paper right now here, which I'm trying to bring it out. How much ever you make this paper straight, this paper is not going to come back to its old position.
Okay.
Okay? This is how many a times when we start talking using our emotions with anyone in any leadership event, or even to become that great leader, many a time we should know what kind of emotions causes what kind of behaviors, because no emotions will come out of the blue.
Hmm.
A thought is bringing that emotion. If you're getting angry, say I'm getting angry, that might be a thought, or that might be a situation which has occurred in the past or a couple of hours back. Then and there, if you start using your emotions to make the conversation, you
Hmm.
are going to burst. You're going to burst for sure. Or taking that break and coming back and having that, okay, this is what happened, this is what I felt. Instead of sitting and having that kind of a conversation, think of what damage we're going to do to the day as well as the relationship with whom you're talking.
Hmm.
So,
Makes sense.
as rightly brought out the example, it's important to take breaks if needed. It's very much important. And see, it different things work for different people, but we need to figure out what works for us. Just having five things in the list and just trying that five things out and leaving thinking there's no other way out. No, we need to figure out what are the different behaviors which when we are angry, what are the behaviors we project. For example, if a person gets angry, either that person talks a lot or he or she goes quiet. What is your behavior pattern? If you start analyzing yourself, understanding yourself, okay, this is what happens when I'm angry, this is what happens when I get irritated, take a break. Or or go out, maybe grab a, if you have a shopping things to do, change the pattern, because we are creating patterns in our own minds with different situations.
Hmm.
Now we have that ability to break that pattern. Or if you're unable to break that pattern, approach one of your mentors or coaches, whoever whom you are comfortable with, get it sorted. That's why people like me, sir, or other individuals also is there in the you know in the industry right now.
Hmm.
So it's understanding that behavior patterns or your own patterns is the key to change something.
Now you said two things. One, either it speaks too much or it does not speak, right? How do you see? If somebody speaks, he's at least telling you something. If somebody is not speaking, what do you get out of it? You don't get most of
Don't
the
be
time whatever you are thinking. He is not speaking. He or she is not speaking. Then
don't talk that time. Don't
okay,
talk anything to that person at that time. Have you heard of this terminology or this phrase called the snowball effect?
I've heard, but if you can give us some insights to
Okay.
it, that would be great.
What happens if a snowball starts tumbling down from a mountain?
It will eventually break, right?
It eventually breaks.
Yeah,
When is it easy to control its speed? In the beginning, in the middle, or at the end?
at the end.
Okay, either at the end or in the beginning. It's
Okay.
like riding a cycle on a slopy road. If eventually if you're catching hold of the brake, it's easy to control your speed.
Hmm.
Once it's taken at speed, you cannot do anything about it. So similarly, don't go talk to an individual who's on an emotionally high state, meaning in the peak of his anger. Don't go talk to that person, or don't try to make that conversation there.
Hmm.
Once he has, after a couple of hours or the next day, when you are having a casual conversation, then you ask, why did you get angry yesterday? When he tell something or the other, or if he says he's forgotten, leave it, don't ask about it. If you still feel you want to have a chat and clarify, then you go and ask. But don't ask to a person who's on an emotionally on a peak state. you're
Hmm.
gonna it's gonna get heated up even more.
Okay. This is news for me actually. I normally try to go and speak, and
It
I
doesn't work.
try to
It
talk
worsens.
immediately and say, what is the reason? Can we discuss on this? And we try to fix it there only. So that piece of work
Doesn't
is not
work.
carried out for tomorrow. So I
It
think I
doesn't work that
change the
way.
way I think in that case is what I should do. Thank you for that, Darshini. Now, when you see the language patterns or techniques that help leaders break down communication barriers, can
Okay.
can can you tell us some of the techniques that can help us to maybe support a culture of openness, again all together also bring a physiologically safety environment, because people always fear that if I talk also I may get hurt when I'm talking to a senior guy, I may offend him. So that safety is one problem that we have, and most of the time we don't speak. Any suggestions around it?
One is which time or during the day you're gonna having that conversation to the person, depending upon the situation.
Okay.
Okay. Say, for example, if you feel that your boss in your organization is on an emotionally on a higher side
Hmm.
during the mornings, don't go have that conversation then and there. He's not going to agree to whatever you say. Or the best part is to to have that conversation either during a over a cup of tea or coffee or during the lunch,
Okay.
or you sit and see wherever we are working in an organization, we majorly we know what kind of personality or what are their kind of behaviors they project, isn't it?
Yeah.
Majorly we will know, not completely, but to an extent we will know. Okay, you if you feel that it's important for you to have that conversation, you okay, sit back and you sit with yourself or sit with your one of your colleague or a friend who's with you that time.
Hmm.
Tell him or her that okay, if I go talk like this, will he or she agree? Have a mock run if the situation permits. If not, if not, the second thing what I usually do is I write it down. If I'm sitting with myself, if there's no one around, I sit and write down that conversation and start reading it from a third person perspective.
Okay.
So to some extent, you'll that immediately that fraction of seconds, your mind will start giving you hints. Okay, try this out or try
Yeah.
this way out. It
Hmm.
will give you solution. Still, if you feel you're not able to put forth the point, see if you can find something which will validate that what you're saying is true. Go with the proof. Otherwise, if the situation demands you to do that, but in many situations if he or she is not accepting or agreeing to what you say, then it is a different scenario that we'll have to sit and figure out what is there any other factors which is leading for him or her to take that decision.
Okay.
Because see, on a journey, on a person or an individual's life, when it comes to success, environment and the people whom you surround yourself with plays a vital role on your journey of success.
Okay.
See,
Okay.
as an organization we work as a team, and if that team is not strong, if the foundation is not strong, you can't expect a building to stand strong.
Hmm.
Doesn't work. So it's better to try different ways for ourselves, or try to understand why your boss or the organization is not agreeing to what you say. Sit and talk with different people from different departments. They'll give you some, you'll find some hack there.
Okay. Okay. Got that. Now, with technology and most of the time
Mm.
we are doing remote work, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
most of the leaders communication and building rapport goes for a toss, right? Because I don't know what situation you are. if you are on camera, I can look at least, but most of the calls we are off camera, and most of the things that happen is a gap that builds up. Are there any NLP techniques that you find particularly uh, effective while we do virtual communications?
Okay. For virtual communication, easy way, I'll tell you. Start the conversation with, what that other, whomever you're conversing with.
Hmm.
Instead of directly stepping into your official conversation, start the conversation with something he or she likes.
Okay.
Say, for example, do you have any live or example, you have anything in your mind if I have to take up? Do you have anything like that?
Not immediately. You can
Okay,
take up
fine. It's
anything.
okay. I will tell you the example.
Hmm.
So, start with the conversation of that what that other individual likes. See,
Okay.
basically, if you do something, one or three things of the other person, what he or she likes, eventually to the fourth task or the actual conversation which we are giving,
Hmm.
they'll start agreeing to us because
Okay.
that's how our mind works.
Important thing. Let me take a note of it. That.
see it's see, I'm giving you in a generalized manner. If anyone in the audience or whoever is listening to this later, if you have any questions, we can take it off the call and dive deeper and understand,
Okay.
because that is more easier, because I can just keep giving generalized examples here because we have the time constraint also in our hand. So I can give you generalized examples which might work, which might not work. If anyone needs that understanding, we'll connect on a personal front.
So I've dropped in. I'm scrolling Darshini's LinkedIn profile, which is running down. Anything that you want to look at, and you feel the conversation is helping you, and you have some of the pointers that you want to talk, you can reach out to Darshini on LinkedIn, and she'll be
See,
happy to
sometimes
help.
asking the right questions also creates an impact.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I,
maybe
I,
you're not asking that right questions, which is leaving you in that stagnant stage.
Hmm. Possible. I think there are certain points which we were talking in the management discussions that happened. Is most of the time we ask questions, but not the right questions, and we
Exactly.
don't get the right answer, or what we want as an answer is what we don't get because we are not asking the right question. That's what I've
Exactly.
learned over few days. Now, when when talking to leaders, they talk or make a vision stick with their teams, right? How do you ensure alignment between individual goals and organizational objectives are met while leaders speak on any language techniques that you have in mind?
See, here, more than the language part of it, uh, it is important for an individual before you get into an organization, you must have applied for a particular role, understanding the JD, which means your job description or what is your role in that particular organization. First, see
Hmm.
if it matches with your skills, your competency for what you're applying for.
Hmm.
Just because the commercials or the package is higher side, you if you go simply apply, you will not meet the needs of your personal goal or the organization's vision or mission what they are looking for. If there is a value system clash, or if there's a some clash with your understanding with the organization, then also you will not be able to work in that organization in your best possible manner or with your full potential there. So
Hmm.
if you feel something is not suiting you, get it clarified with the HR or whoever you're comfortable making that kind of conversation. Because many a times I have seen this that they jump into just because the package is high, but the value system will not be in match,
Hmm.
or they will not be able to get the organizational goal or their vision or the mission accomplished. or go have do your own research about the organization as to, okay, read their vision, mission, about their organization, how it started, where it started, all that.
Hmm.
I'll tell you, you can take up real life examples itself. People, in personalities or individuals who started, for say, for example, uh, Apple or your Google, or you take any organization, they all must have started with the spark of an idea.
Hmm.
But vision and mission is, it does not, you're not making that in just in a day or two. It takes time for you to create that one.
True.
So we need to understand, okay, if you feel you're not matching with the what they do, either change the role or try some other venue to see what is your potential or where is your potential lying. That is why we have a lot of opportunities like internships.
Hmm.
While you're studying, do some online internships or do a physical internships in whichever city you are in, because that that's where you can make mistakes and learn and find out what is your potential. I'll tell you my personal story here. I was that one uh, individual who used to play with microphones but not with any other toys which I find in my hand.
Okay.
The microphones which is used in the stage to communicate, I used to play with that kind of microphones as a toy, but
Okay.
I didn't know it's gonna shape my future. So sometimes that playful moments which we have, sometimes that just to gain experience, we go apply in an organization or with a startup. We never know. That is where we might find our potential hidden.
Hmm.
So
Positive.
we need to have that openness and that open frame of mind to grab these opportunities, what comes in your way.
Hmm. So coming to that pointer, when you say most of them don't know what to find, right? And they always have a blind spot discovering things. Now, how in your career, what is one blind spot you have discovered through NLP, and how did you address it for making it better for you? And what advice you would give for others who can recognize this on their own?
Okay. So, see, as simple as that. Uh, I'll give you two examples from my personal journey as such.
Okay.
One was self criticism, and one was fear. These
Hmm.
two were the major things which I had to work on myself for. How did I work through this? Is that for fear, I was watching this. I don't know, many of you might like Disney movies, or I don't know how many likes Disney movies here, or all these Disney movies have a subtle way of explaining the true reality of life in very subtle manner, which we just don't realize it.
Hmm.
In that one movie which is called Good Dinosaur,
Mm-hmm.
that there are two dinosaurs basically in that movie, and the big dinosaur takes that smaller one. You come here and you just walk in this that fields, the paddy fields kind of a thing.
Okay.
And that small dinos, this is just a story for you, all of you, to connect your dots. So
Hmm.
that, and that big one looks at the small ones and says, just take a walk.
Hmm.
You have seen this, uh the light flies which flies at night, the green color ones which has a light in it.
Yeah.
And then he that you know big dinosaur says that sometimes we'll have to walk through our fears to see the beauty on the other side. So don't take the scariest thing first, but take the small things which scares you. Start doing the small things. Eventually you'll walk through that fear. If you feel walking alone is too taxing for you, take hire a coach or hire a mentor who can give you that, okay, I am with you no matter what. Sometimes it's good to have a personality like that with you, that for now, if you don't believe in yourself, believe me, I am with you, do it. You need
Hmm.
someone to give you that push.
I think somebody is needed for us to do most of the time to start doing some things, because most of the fear is that if I fail, right, what happens? And if I
From you
fail,
somehow.
uh, no, there was one book which I was
I
reading.
just finished this point. So
Yeah, but sir.
I was that one person who was never scared. Or
Hmm.
rather, I used to go, okay, what? See, at the end of the day, only two things happens out of a situation.
Hmm.
One, either you learn, or two, it will give you an experience.
Hmm.
When it comes to self criticism, what I did was, I started appreciating each and everything came in my way. The moment I get up, I start appreciating everything instead of criticizing it.
Okay.
It is the mindset shift. I know it is not going to going to take up a lot of your time, but we'll have to walk that path. Even if it can be irritating, it can be frustrating also, which I agree to. But we'll have to walk that path. I know it's a very hard thing to accept, but this is what I did.
I
I
think.
don't know. Here on this platform, I want to thank my NLP mentors who taught me NLP. I don't
Okay.
know if they have joined here, but
Hmm.
if they are seeing this video a little later, or if they've joined now, thank you so much.
Okay.
Because I went and did NLP what, 9 to 10 times. Every time I go attend the program as if I don't know NLP.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
every time that one blind spots get uncovered every time. So I started working on it.
Hmm. Good one, actually. Now, I was reading it somewhere in one of the books.
Okay.
It said is that that is from Louis Hay's book, "Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway" kind. So that's the book that I've been reading for. I've read a couple of times on that. Uh, and there is one example which I got to know from other sources also, is that uh, have you got a seat in Harvard? I said no.
Okay.
Did you apply? I said no. Then he said, apply. What
Okay.
major will happen? First, you will get rejected.
Okay.
If you get accepted, you got a seat.
Okay.
Otherwise, anyway, you don't have a seat. Earlier also you
Okay.
didn't have, now also you don't have. So there is
Okay.
no point in cribbing. But did you try? You did not try means you did not get. Now, don't come and tell me that I did not get a seat in Harvard. Did you put the application first? So what I was told is, first is that you should start uh, doing certain things for you to get some things. So if you are
Exactly.
not doing that and you still expect something to happen, it will not happen.
True. True.
So
It
on
happens.
that, see, often what happens is you overlook something, right? And as an influential tool, right? Something like that. How do you see leaders uh, use active listening as a powerful means to connect, influence their teams? Do you have a personal story where listening is led to breakthrough? And you touched upon this point in the initial starting of the session. You'll have to listen. You said that. But most of the time, what we see is we only listen to react rather than respond. How do you handle this kind of things, Darshni?
Okay. Here, what happens is that active listening, yes, it plays a vital role. But before that, we all are very smart in giving ideas to other people who comes to us and asks us something.
Hmm.
Yes, many
Yes.
of us do that. Many of us, we are very good in that of giving suggestions or conclusions or solutions to other people's problems.
Hmm.
But when it comes to ourselves, we think that we are out of no, we don't have anything in hand to try it out.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Before that, the base of anything which comes to is that where does stress comes from? Does it comes from your past? Does it comes from your present? Or does it comes from your future? We will have to
Stress
ask
comes,
you.
the first thing I would like to stress comes on what you have not been consistently doing.
Okay. The moment we start procrastinating, or the moment we start, okay, we'll do it later,
Ah,
that eventually adds up to your stress levels, isn't it? And that is
and
something
we've
which
not
comes from,
completed the deadline will come in, and then
ah,
we'll say, yeah, okay.
say for the example, deadline is at 5, we'll still think, okay, 4:30 we will sit and do. 5 o'clock will be the deadline. So, uh,
Fine.
stress comes something from your either from your past or your present.
Hmm.
When does anxiety come? It comes from the future. So
Hmm.
how this active listening plays a vital role. Why then see, I'll tell you, many of them today goes to or has a counselor or a coach or a mentor with them. Why? They know that they will sit and listen. And there are times where individuals are even ready to pay that money because they know they will be there to sit to listening to us as a client. But in the known circle or with friends or with relatives or anybody else, we get this fear of judgment. How will they think? What will they think? How will they react if I do this? All these kinds of statements will come up because still a person is not doing something, they'll start getting questions as if, why are you not doing anything? But they don't know the individual is putting a lot of back end work or the back hard work to find something for them, for themselves. And eventually, what happens the moment that person becomes successful, they'll ask, how are you doing this? How are you doing so effortlessly? So, with the unknown person or person from outside, the individual knows that that person is listening without no judgments. That is why many a times we come out of that particular session feeling so relaxed and calm, like
Hmm.
a subtle water in a lake. But water never flows backwards. It's only good flows forward. But it has the ability or it has the power to, adapt to any wherever it's been put or
Hmm.
wherever it's been found.
Okay.
And majorly, the main issue comes from not having the flexibility or having a very fixed mind. Out of experience, I'm saying this majorly issue starts from this one factor is which the fixed mind. That is when your active listening goes off beat. Okay,
No,
this
good
is what.
point there. Good point there. Now, what happens is most of the time we don't think unconventionally or out of the box. We are stuck somewhere, as you said rightly. We are stuck. Can you help us?
Preconceived notions.
Yeah, can you help us with one NLP technique that leaders should consider adding it to their toolkit? Because can this can be driving results, right? So
Yeah.
how do you look at people don't think out of the box, they are always in one box.
Okay. Okay. Very simple example, or see for techniques, what I can do is I can take it off the record, or if anyone wants to do try this out, you can connect me with me on my personal front or in on through my LinkedIn, or you can put it on the chat. I'll be very happy to connect with you personally.
Okay.
Imagine you're going for a holiday. Very simple example, but you'll be able to relate to what I'm saying. Imagine you're going for a holiday where you plan for a week.
Hmm.
So, which is the next destination you're planning to go for a holiday? Just example, I'm asking you.
I would like to go to Switzerland.
Switzerland. Okay. You wanted to go to Switzerland, isn't it?
Yeah.
See, you're planned for a week's holiday or something,
Hmm.
and different countries, different cities, different towns, or whatever you take, it has different cultures. Yes,
Hmm.
different. See, Bangalore will have a different culture. Cochin will have a different culture. Different places has its own culture and this thing. If you think that the culture is gonna be same and going to, in that mindset to Switzerland, will you be able to enjoy it? No,
No, I
not
will.
not completely.
Yeah.
If you're on the other side, say if you're going with a very open mind,
Hmm.
you're just going for a vacation. That's all. For that vacation, will you come back halfway thinking, okay, the food is not suiting me, the culture is not suiting me, the weather is not suiting me? Will you ever come back, or will you complete your journey and come back? But you not enjoy to the fullest of it. So
Hmm.
we need to have that openness to accept and not accept, but experience new cultures.
I think that is the saying that when you are in Rome, be like a Roman,
Roman,
right?
exactly.
Exactly. So I think that's the apt point that I would like to say what you are telling
See,
there.
NLP techniques, but see, I can tell you techniques, but if I just keep telling it here, it will not be effective as if you're experiencing it.
Hmm.
So whoever wants or whoever feels that you want to experience something on a particular situation or a particular aspect of your life, we'll connect on a personal front. We will take it forward from there.
Yeah. So I again brought up Darshni's
Or you can just put
link.
it on the chat. I will happily I'll connect with you with whoever needs it later.
Sure. Okay. Coming to the final question to our session today, as we look to the future, what trends or shifts you see in leadership, communication, and influence, and what should today's leaders be prepared for in specific to NLP?
In specific to NLP. Couple of things, or rather, one or two important factors, not only with NLP, but
In general.
in the coming, in the, the younger generation or whichever generation which we pick up. First thing is that, as I think in the questions or somewhere you were mentioning this, that change, failure, and uncertainty is always gonna be there.
Hmm.
We need to be prepared for it at the first place.
Okay.
Leave energy for that matter. But for right now, failure, change, and uncertainty is always gonna be there,
Hmm.
which many of us still find it difficult to accept it. But the moment we start accepting, it is easier to handle the situation. The
Hmm.
moment you start ignoring something, it is more difficult to handle it later.
Okay.
As simple as that. So even in your communication also, if you feel something has to be discussed on an on an immediate front, it's better you call for a team meeting, or if it's concerned with any one individual, call that individual and have that conversation then and there itself. Don't post it for next day or after a couple of hours. That effectiveness is gone there. It's always better. Okay, this is bring the discussion on the table, but not personally. I would recommend not through messages or not through emails, but having that direct sit down table kind of conversation.
Hmm.
That is always going to help in any ways more than having a message. Or you see what is the commonality of both of you, or as a team, do you prefer a conversation to through tea or coffee? Because many a times you find even in movies also they say that any good situation, any bad situation starts or ends with tea or coffee in your hand. So similar,
True.
I would suggest have that sit down kind of a conversation. That is the best thing we need to start doing these days.
Great, Darshini. I think with this, we are at the fag end of the program, and you also are on top of the hour. I think thank you for being here, Darshana. It's been a great discussion that we've been having, and
Looking
looking
forward for
for.
more.
Yes, definitely we will do much more sessions, and let's be specific in terms of what we talk in for the future sessions. In one technique that you want to talk, as you were telling in the initial start of the session, if you are looking at that kind, we can look at it, and we will bring up a session quick soon. With this, I think thank you for being here. We have been streaming this session through LinkedIn to Facebook and YouTube. Hope this discussion has found or had some value for you, for the people who have joined LinkedIn Live today. And our next episode is on the 166th episode, which is on 5th of November. Please join us. Looking forward to see you again there. Thank you, Darshni.
Thank you so
Have a good
much.
day, and bye for now.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And
Thank
happy
you.
Diwali once again.
Yeah. Happy Diwali, everyone, again.